oh my gosh, my words are gone. Is it kindness or is it control? That's the word. Had to take a breath for a second. Kindness or control. And so, where this idea came from was that I heard my coach say, I am no longer a person who eats out of the bread basket. And I've heard her say this for years now. Every time I heard her say that, I heard, I'm not supposed to have bread. That's not what she said. And it just, I'm telling you, I have been coaching with her since 2019. And so for years now, I've heard her say this, and it's only been in the last handful of months that I really understood what she said. She said, I am no longer a person who eats out of the bread basket. She did not say, I am a person who does not eat bread. And so the big difference here is this kindness versus control thing and how our brain hears it. There was another moment that I was commenting on some posts, and a person had this idea that they were going to have a teacup and they were going to measure out their food and they were only going to eat what fits in the teacup. And they were having a toddler tantrum about how that was not enough food. And what started out as probably a kindness to figure things out and give herself a break, some understanding, it turned into control. And so, with each of these examples, like hearing, is it control or is it kindness? Kindness looks like we're giving ourselves something easy. We are giving ourselves something. Did you hear that part? Giving, not taking away. And so with the bread basket, with the teacup, those can start out as a kindness. When we start adding our thoughts about it, so like with the bread basket, how I heard, I can't have bread anymore if I want to lose weight. With the lady in the teacup, she hears, that is not enough food. I think she had made chili. I think that's what she said she made. She made some chili or something, and she had it in the teacup, and it wasn't what she thought would be enough. And then other things don't seem to be enough when you measure it by a teacup. It's a starting place. They're all a starting place. I started looking at what some of my I am no longer a person who statements could be. And when I realized that these things are a kindness, not a control, not a way to beat ourselves into submission, it's not a diet with a bunch of rules to follow. I really latched on to this idea, and I could find all the little kindnesses that I have practiced over the years for myself. So I wanted to share some of those with you so that you can really get this idea between a kindness and a control, because we don't follow a bunch of diet rules anymore. We are not submitting ourselves to that punishment to control our bodies and our hunger for the sake of weight loss. We are losing weight out of kindness and love and respect for our body. We take the most excellent care of it and we lose weight, not beat ourselves into submission. So some of mine. I also am a person who no longer eats out of the bread basket routinely. And I say routinely on some of these because some of them are like I grab one and then it never made it to the plate. But typically, I'll take the one bread or however many I'm going to have and I stick them on my plate. And then it gives me a pause to decide if I'm going to want more, because I'm going to have to go reach into the bread basket and get more. So I eat them off of my plate now. And I usually even let them sit for a moment or two so that I can see them on my plate and not get that frenzy of energy, right? Have you been at dinner with friends or family and you know exactly how many pieces of bread they brought into that basket, and you know how many people are at the table, and you've already decided if you don't get yours first, you're not getting any, because right, they don't ever bring you more. It's unlimited usually bread. And so, but our brains go to that, I need more. There's one left, I'm going to have it. Or we even think, I don't want to take the last one and look like I'm gluttonous, and we have all these thoughts about it. But I also put that bread on my plate. So I have bread, but I'm not just hand to mouth out of the bread basket anymore. Another basket, right? Chips and queso or salsa when we go eat Mexican. That one's one that I really don't eat out of the basket. I typically have found that the kindest part for me has been to eat my meal and then have the chips and salsa or queso. And that way I eat enough of my meal that I'm not filled up on the chips. And I also got the parts in that I really wanted to order. I mean, I came to order food, and I have come sometimes just for the chips and salsa or just the chips and queso. But if I'm coming and I really want to eat food, I eat my food first. And it's not a control thing, it's a kindness. And so that kindness for me is I absolutely get to have the chips and queso. And what's even kinder is I can decide how much I want, so I can stop eating my dinner a little bit. I'll take some home, and that feels like another kindness. I have leftovers. And so I don't have to think about what to make for another meal when I have leftovers. So I'll then eat at the end. So I can decide how much of my meal I wanted to have and how much I want to save room for that chips and queso. It's not an and an and where I just keep piling it on. And it's definitely not a control where I can't have it. I can and I do. I love chips and queso. I love Mexican food. And so I just have learned how to eat it in a kinder way for my body. And of course, for my weight loss, it makes it so much easier when I decide ahead of time. And so we all know about how much hunger feels like in our body as you get going on this. It might be new to you, but you learn pretty quick, like, maybe like 10 chips sounds good. And like, I'll see how it feels. And you check in from time to time. But what happens is it gives me enough pause, like I said with the bread basket, with those 10 chips on my plate or on my napkin, with me deciding I really want some chips or whatever it is today, I'll stop my dinner a little early. I'll eat the chips on the napkin or on the plate. And then I have to have a moment where I have to make a decision. And so that decision is another kindness for me. Having the pause to before I go get more chips instead of just eating them out of a basket gives me enough pause to decide if I really even want any more. The answer is going to be first, of course I want more. They're always delicious. They're always amazing. I want more. But whenever I really think, have I had enough? Like, do I have hunger for some more? Am I satisfied? It gives me that extra pausing moment that I would have to make the decision to actually take action to get more, not just complete the cycle of hand to mouth, hand to mouth. Some other areas I was looking at was ice cream. And I mentioned this a little bit before. Ice cream and it is a love-hate relationship. And so it was one of the ones that my brain kept thinking like, I can have it. I've been so good. A little is not going to hurt. Except for then I got to where like it really was a kindness. I started buying those half cup servings like you'd buy for a kid's birthday party. The half cup serving is really like just perfect enough. My brain and my tongue say, no, I want some more. And I have like probably once or twice gotten a second one. But I don't typically get up to go get another ice cream container. And so they're like a half a cup serving. And I'm not so caught up on what they say the serving size is, but it does give me that pause that I was telling you about, that kindness of, do you really want more? Do you want to have to get up? Do you really want to have to go in there and like get another one? And do you even think you want a whole nother one? Or is it just like, this was good, so another bite or two would taste great? And usually when I get to that point, like 90 seconds has gone by and I've already decided like, it's not worth getting up, or it's not worth having a whole nother one. Like it was great and I enjoyed it while it was there. So that's why I think I want more, but I'm good with what I've had. I can have more some other time. And those kinds of kindnesses that I speak to myself, by then the urge for more has usually passed. Another one is candy. I don't just eat out of a candy bag. I don't eat out of a chips bag. What I noticed was as you were doing it, same thing with chips out of a bread basket or, at Mexican restaurants or whatever. As you're doing it, your brain starts justifying and you're like, well, I ordered a salad so I can have more of this, or I have been good all day, or I deserve this. I'll do better tomorrow. I'll cut something out tomorrow. I won't have any snacks the rest of the week. And so you start justifying and trying to earn your way to have a few more pieces. And so whenever I have had the amount on my plate, or I have had a single serve chip bag or a single amount of nuts, whether I put them in the bag or I bought them that way, whatever it is, I have such a moment of kindness that it's easy for me to just say, that was amazing. Of course, I'd want more. But right now, I feel like I've had plenty. And so I'm not miserable with the ice cream. I had switched for a while and I was buying pints. And the pints, I get more flavor options than the little half cups. So that was fun and exciting, right? The thing is, I would get it and I would eat out of the pint, and I would in my head tell myself, I'm going to eat a third of this. I'm just going to eat a third of the pint. And I know half cups and pints, it's more than that, but I know the math's not there, but I would eat about a third. I would get to the third with full intention. That's what I was going to do. And it would just be so delicious. I'd want one more bite, two more bites. And then I'd eat half. And then I'd make that decision that, oh, I've already messed up. Let's just eat this and then I'll do better next time. When I put it in a bowl, when I have the half cup container, that process is so much watered down, so less for me to decide about getting up to have another container or another serving, that most of the time it never even registers in my brain to do that, where I walk away feeling like I had a success. So that kindness of taking care of myself in that moment, allowing myself to have all of those things, there's not a control here on this is all you could have. This is what I'm giving myself to start with. And if I want more, I can have it. But typically in the moment, I really like weight loss too. I really like the way my body feels when I'm not like having such bad belly cramps that I have to stay in the bathroom for an hour. I really like how my body feels when it's had some good, like flavorful ice cream, but not so much that I am having rolling tummy pain for the next 24 to 48 hours. I really like how that feels. And so I have realized that my brain, my tongue usually say they want a little bit more, but I know I'm the one that's in control. My brain might be a toddler throwing a tantrum from time to time, but I get to decide how much hunger I have. So even if I start with this amount, and this was what I messaged to the teacup lady who put the chili in the teacup and has been measuring it out. That might be your first moment where you're like, this is going to be easier for me than filling a plate, because the plate looks so big. And when you start to fill it, it brings on some of those old habits. And so like we all did the Weight Watchers back in the day where they said, use a tiny plate, use the side salad plate. Those are all just like moments to break that cycle of habit for us. And so the teacup is still fine. Her post, she went on to say, I already eat so much less. It's not fair. I don't want to have to eat even less. I'm not going to be able to have enough food if I keep eating less. Her teacup idea was just something to help her. It just gave her enough pause to decide if she really wanted more or not. She could decide she doesn't even want the whole teacup amount. She could decide that she absolutely does. And if she wants that, great. Maybe she wants even more. Maybe she wants a little bit more. And so as you really start dialing in what your hunger and what your body's saying, all these things come up. And so just remembering, is this a kindness or is this a control? And so sometimes the kindness is a little bit of like effort that feels like control, but really one lights you up and feels hopeful and motivating, and it feels relaxing. The other one creates a lot of anxiety. So as you try to strong arm your way to weight loss, what happens is all that anxiety builds up. You realize it doesn't feel good to have to control everything. That's why we stopped doing all those diets that had a ton of rules that were really hard and imposing. We know if we're hungry or not. It's that simple. It seems like the most logical thing in the world. We eat because we're hungry. We eat for hunger, but we get to eat foods we really love. And that right there is almost like I said last week, it's almost too much freedom for some people. And so learning how to have those foods that you really love how it feels in your body, all that kind of stuff. And just keep going back to, is this feel like a kindness that feels light and helpful? Or does this feel like control that feels imposing and it feels like it's giving me anxiety? That's how you get to weigh those kind of things out. And it sounds like a whole bunch of diet rules probably to someone who's just kind of halfway listening. But if you really hear what I said today, all of these things were helpful kindnesses for myself. Each one of those helped me have a moment of pause. Nothing said I couldn't have more, and nothing said I was stuck with just having that amount or less, or that I couldn't have the food at all. These were helpful ways that I found were the most kind ways to take care of me getting exactly what foods I love and learning how to have them. So if you have questions, I want you to write in. If you even have maybe your own food that you're trying to figure out how to have so that it can stay in your time-to-time daily meal plans kind of thing, I would love to hear. I would love to help. If you have a food that you're like, I am no longer a person who, and you eat a food a certain way or however it is, let me know. I would love to hear that because I know what my experiences are and I know what my clients' experiences are, but I love hearing new ones. And if your experience can help even one more person, that's a person who gets to enjoy life. That is a person who 100% gets to wake up and be like, life is my oyster. What do I want? And like, it's amazing when you get to that point. When you realize before how your life was not as exciting and that you were making up for it with your food, you get to enjoy the life that you want. The life that is so exciting that sometimes you forgot to eat. Like, so exciting that you forgot to eat something and you're not ravenous and needing to make up for it later. You just loved life so much. We love all the activities in it. We love all the people in it. And it just becomes that lights you up in such a way that food was the only thing you even could relate it to in the past. So that's what we've got. Send me a message. I cannot wait to hear what you've got. And I will see you next week. Bye. That wraps up another empowering episode of the Concierge Weight Loss Podcast. I hope you found inspiration and actionable insights that will propel you towards your weight loss goals. If you're ready to dive deeper and accelerate your progress, don't miss out on our free 5-day quick start weight loss course. Head over to coachingkara.com/free course to gain access to a wealth of valuable resources, guidance, and support. The time for change is now, and I'm here to guide you every step of the way. Remember, your transformation starts with a single step. Take that step today and unlock the life you deserve. Stay tuned for our next episode, and remember to keep striving for greatness.